Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by DreckCaterpillar77, and their tagline is, "Saying is not a pogo stick." The original OP is FakeFather21, posted to r/legal advice, April 23rd, 2018. New York. Woman has come forward claiming her child is my half-brother to try to get a part of my father's estate, despite the fact it is impossible. What can I do to make this woman go away or pay for this stunt? Using an alt account because this is just ridiculous. So here's the situation. My father passed about 2 months ago from natural causes and left everything he owned to me and my sister. His estate is worth over $5 million. With almost half of that in liquid assets. His estate is still being split up now. Not because me and sis are fighting or anything, the two of us are just working together to see who wants what and figuring out what to do with the rest. But that isn't the issue here. About a week ago, a woman, we'll call stupid bitch, SB for short, contacted my father's estate attorney claiming that she had a secret child with him and determined he got a third of the estate. I have never met this woman or even knew she existed until then, but apparently she's the daughter of someone my dad went to high school with, so it isn't out of the question at first. But here's the thing. My dad was diagnosed with testicular cancer 15 years ago and had both of his testicles removed. So unless this kid is at least 14, then it's impossible it's his. So, entertaining the thought, I met with SB and was surprised to find out this secret child is 9 years old and looks nothing like my father. During this meeting, she demanded her child's share of my dad's estate and wants 9 years of child support in cash. She claimed she would sue if he wasn't added into the will. My dad's estate lawyer said that if SB's kid passed a DNA test, he would bust. She refused. She claims she has a secret letter from my father acknowledging this kid as his own, but refused to provide it. The meeting ended with my father's estate lawyer telling her to pretty much get out until she's ready to do a DNA test, and her claiming she would see us in court. It's pretty obvious this is not my dad's kid, but SB is still trying to take from us. My question is, what can I do to make her go away? What kind of legal action can I take to make her disappear from my life? If she does try to take action against me and my sister, what can I do to make sure this bitch gets what she deserves? Relevant comments. Macamam. Let your lawyer handle it. Ask him to send her a letter telling her she is not to contact you at all, but only him when she is ready to take a DNA test. If she does contact you, he will deem it harassment and pursue your legal remedies. Then block her from contacting you. OP responds, attorney said just don't respond or tell her anything until she takes the DNA test or goes away. If she sues, the estate will take care of it. Update, April 27th, 2018, 4 days later. Seeing as the last post I made got popular, thought I would come back and give an update. As much as I wish this ended dramatically with SB getting arrested or embarrassed in court, I'm sad to say this isn't the case. So after I sent SD the text telling her to stop contacting me, she began to blow my phone up with voicemails and texts. I saved them all, obviously, and forwarded them to my father's attorney. The day after I made my first post, my attorney had a letter sent to SB. I know it says SD, but it's a typo, and I'm just keeping it as SB for continuity purposes. Won't post the letter here, but I'll paraphrase to the best of my ability while trying to interpret all the legal talk. Quote, if you believe your child's claim to my client's estate is legitimate, please submit to a DNA test at your earliest convenience. If an independent DNA test confirms your claims of my client's paternity to your child, we will see to having him compensated as according to the local laws for the requested child support. On the claim of getting a portion of the estate, my client specified in his will that his estate would be left to his children, fake father 21 and sister. Unless you are able to provide the letter of recognition, as you stated in my office on the 22nd, we will consider that your child was either disowned or unacknowledged by my client and will proceed as such. If you are unable to provide the claimed letter, I advise you seek legal counsel of your own. On the topic of you continue to contact my client's benefactors, I suggest you cease it immediately. They have made it clear that they do not wish to associate with you outside of legal dealings. If you continue to contact them, I have recommended they take legal action against you." End quote. The best part has to be how he ended it, however. Quote, "If there is the possibility that your claims of my client's paternity to your child are misinformed or fraudulent, I suggest you admit to this and cease contact with me and my clients. If you continue these actions under false claims, not only will you be receiving a bill for my time, I will suggest that my clients take legal action against you." End quote. While this was going on, my sister tracked down SB's parents and got into contact with them. It turns out that SB has not had contact with her parents in multiple years, but that is not the important part. Apparently, this is not the first time she has done this. Apparently, she pulled the same stunt with another man when this kid was born 9 years ago and got paid off to leave him alone. I also forwarded this to my attorney. So fast forward to this morning when I got a call from my attorney. SB is retracting her statements, claiming she misunderstood the situation and no longer believes her son is my father's kid. So yeah, no big dramatic ending sadly, but I guess this is over. Thanks for the advice originally. I know some people were asking why I came here when I already had an attorney, and to be honest, I see where you guys are coming from. I was pretty stressed, and with this woman trying to steal what my father had worked his whole life for, I really just needed a place to vent and look for advice on what I should do. Thanks for that. Plus also r/legal advice is free. I think the revolting part that my brain kind of is churning on here is that's just what the parents were aware of, is the one instance when the 9-year-old was born. My personal thought is that she's been doing this for a while. She checks the obituaries, finds someone who might potentially be wealthy, does some digging, shows up on their doorstep requesting hey, my child is actually a secret affair child from this person, and we're owed compensation. And my guess would be, unfortunately, until this person receives any kind of retribution or actual consequences, is they rely on the fact that most people are going to try and bury this in order to maintain this person's reputation, or just because they're grieving, not have the time or energy to actually try and put up with this. So this person might just, honest to God, be running this con time after time after time, and have been getting away with it for who knows how long. My guess would be is she specifically just targets families like this and see which ones roll over the fastest, and anytime there's actual pushback and they don't seem to, acknowledge her demands or push for a DNA test or threaten consequences, that's when she pulls away, because it's not worth the time to actually go to court for something that's obviously fraud. But if you're able to wiggle out a few people who are grieving the death of a loved one, then hey, it's a win, am I right? Fuck you. This person's a monster, and part of me does wish they actually went and decided to take her to court just to see what would happen, and to watch her squirm when she found out that her little tactic of jumping obituaries turned out to, be a shitty dice roll when she accused the person of having testicular cancer of having a secret child 9 years ago. I know this is my tinfoil hat theory, but the more that I talk about it, the more that it just makes sense. What a gross person. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." The original OPs are TreeLover60 and TreeLover61, posted to r/legal advice. An r/legal advice wet dream. Neighbor cut down 2 of my trees. What should I look for in a lawyer? June 21st, 2018. Yes, this is in fact a TreeLaw post. I live in an older neighborhood in a small town an hour away from Nashville. The cost of living in Nashville has shot up, as well as property values, and some people have begun to move into our sleepy little town to get more out of their dollar. A newish neighbor is an aspiring country singer, lives in their own world, and seems to have a lot of money. This crudely drawn map, indeed, shows the proximity of our 2 houses. The future Johnny Cash, trademark pending, recently built a front porch that includes a fireplace, hanging lights, the whole shebang. Johnny's only source of hurt is that I had 2 old oak trees that cast his deck in shade during the prime hours. The map isn't aligned properly. He asked me to cut them down before, even offering to pay, but I did not comply. When I returned from vacation last week, I came home to 2 tree stumps, mashed up grass, and a letter telling me to expect a Venmo payment for $2,000. I know that trees are well loved around here, but I don't think that this information is common knowledge to all lawyers. What should I bring up when I meet with a legal representative to explore my punitive retribution? Relative comments. Diablo con queso. Oh, I want a burrito so bad right now. In addition to seeking an attorney that is somewhat familiar with tree law, you should also get an arborist out to your property to give you a proper estimate on what those trees were worth. I assure you, we are all anxiously waiting how many zeros are in the estimate that the arborist gives you. So, you must promise frequent update posts. Dex Fulco comments, I just want to say, legal advice gets excited about tree law posts because it can amount to very substantial amounts, but that doesn't mean every case will lead to such large amounts. From some of the updates and stories I've read, most times the number doesn't even reach 6 figures. Only in specific conditions does it go that high, but an arborist is definitely the place to start to get an estimate. User Just Penguin comments, don't accept the Venmo payment. Seems like it could be further proof that your neighbor did this on purpose and without being asked. Also, if you accept that Venmo payment, it could be seen as acceptance of services rendered. Deuteros comments, tree owner rights and responsibilities. Landowners' tree rights limit nuisance claims and trespassing regarding cutting, trimming, or removing trees that extend beyond property boundaries, especially abutting easements for streets and utility lines. According to the trespass law, Tennessee Code N. 3914-405, 2014, others are not allowed to harm a landowner's trees. Persons cutting, removing, or otherwise harming a tree can be liable for double or triple the value of the tree if the trespass is upheld. As in the case of Jack Jones v. Melvin Johnson, Johnson trespassed onto Jones' property and made several deep chainsaw cuts into a large black walnut tree, killing it. Jones had to pay to have the tree removed, and the court awarded Jones more than 5 times the amount he had to pay to have it removed. Jones v. Johnson, M2002-01286-COA-R3-CV Lexus 423, Tennessee CT App, June 4th, 2003. And then they have a link below to the publication for it. Update 1, July 5th, 2018. Original here, I forgot the password for the throwaway. Sorry if this ruins continuity. A lot has happened in the past 15 days. I wanted to provide a brief update, but it will be out of order. Thank you for all the great advice. Sorry I wasn't able to comment in the original thread, but I am grateful for everything. The first thing I did was delete Venmo. Scan and back up the letters left in my mailbox, the ones offering to pay for the trees being cut down, and the one offering $2,000, and called for someone from my local town to come and evaluate that the tree stumps were indeed on my land. But before the land evaluation, I wanted to write a quick gospel in praise of my lawyer. I drove down to the big city of Nashville and met with some real mean son of a bitch. I gave him a quick rundown of what happened, and he literally quoted the helpful comments made by you/Deuteros about harming landowner trees. He told me that we would wait to file criminal charges until the stumps were without question on my land. So I had a town surveyor visit, and this is where the story gets good. While he was out making his observations, my neighbor came out and wanted to know when I would be taking the payments. I curtly said I wasn't yet ready to accept it, and he got mad, accusing me of being a shitty neighbor and not wanting to help his home. He then insisted that he had the right to cut down the trees, to which the surveyor confirmed my suspicions and told us no. The stumps were actually on my land. He could have trimmed branches if they were too long, but not cut the lumber down. He left in a huff. So now I'm waiting for Wednesday, when the certified arborist will visit and tell me the tree value. Thanks again for your help. Final update, payday edition. Legal advice wet dream neighbor cut down 2 of my trees, which I look for in a lawyer. July 14th, 2018, 9 days later. Sorry for the delay, but that will be explained at the bottom. The arborist came out this past Wednesday. Prior to this meeting and this whole mess, I had taken trees for granted. I simply assumed that you would plant a seed, they would grow, you'd cut them down, make shit, and then process would repeat. But no! I was informed by this mystic man of nature trees are far more complex. They take years to root. Some trees need more dirt and ground to establish themselves. Some are more valuable in certain areas with historical roots to the area. Some are incapable of growing in neighborhoods if infrastructure has since been built, and some trees produce different veneer quality logs. White oak trees, or Quercus alba, is apparently one such tree that is highly sought after for veneer quality logs. They're used for furniture, for banjos here in the South, for all sorts of woodcraft, and, as the magical tree man told me, they're damn tough to grow in neighborhoods. Their roots don't let them grow in neighborhoods, and they shy from urban pollution. His point is that if you had 2 white oak trees of veneer quality cut down from your front yard, is that they'd be irreplaceable. New ones could never grow to that 100-year-old size ever again. Because of that, Tree Man, God of Dollars, stated that $1,000 per year per tree is a base compensation. Sorry for the delay. My lawyer has been smelling blood in the water and wanted to ensure whatever I posted wouldn't put our $200,000 tree case in jeopardy, and wanted to go over it first. Too long didn't read. Don't cut down white oaks in the birthplace of old hickory, or else. 1 year later update, August 16th, 2019. I came to r/legal advice a year ago after my aspiring country singer neighbor decided to have trees cut down in my yard to expose his porch to sunlight. An arborist came out and priced the trees to have a combined worth of $200,000. I settled for cash in pocket $190K, paid for by his daddy out in LA, where I assumed he has moved back to, and wanted to share the good news with my friends over here in Reddit. I walk away with some nice spending change, my lawyer with an enjoyable payday, and with my yard sporting 2 new saplings. My lawyer contemplated going after the landscaping company, but a quick subpoena led us to realizing that we would be lucky to be earning any wage garnishes whatsoever. So, oh well, just do your homework next time. TreeLaw is a subreddit that I have looked at potentially doing its own video for. Biggest problem being is that posts are a bit few and far between, so it does make it hard to sit down and knock out an entire episode worth of TreeLaw episodes in one sitting, and that's probably the biggest delay on it. I do, however, actively seek them out for best of, so if I see them like this one, I'll actually go out of my way to make sure it's included in the video, because I do enjoy a good TreeLaw. And I know you goobers do too. So I hope y'all enjoyed this inserted edition of TreeLaw here, and yeah, I'll do my best to maybe at some point do an entire episode dedicated. It might be a secondary upload for a day or a shorter upload, but it is something that I do plan on doing at some point. Also, I do love the fact that they thought they could just sweep this whole thing under the rug by, offering OP $2,000. I also do think, just from the standpoint of potential malice, that OP's neighbor was fully aware that what they did was just criminal. But if OP accepted that $2,000, even by accident, they've agreed to services rendered and can't do shit about it now. So the moment they saw OP out there with a surveyor or an arborist, they probably were like, oh shit, time to see if they'll accept that $2,000. Hey, when are you going to accept that? You're being a bad neighbor by not accepting it. So I'm kind of left thinking that it was, definitely malicious, because not many people are super duper willing trying to get themselves to pay out $2,000 to someone unless they know they've done something very wrong. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Epididdy Mister, and posted to r/legal advice. I guess this is just a legal advice episode going on right now. April 12th, 2018. Pennsylvania. Neighbor kid got bit by a stray cat that hangs out in our backyard and had to get rabies shots. Parents want us to pay. So, me and my boyfriend live together in a row home. There's a narrow alley in back that runs down the length of our street, and like most alleys in this neighborhood, there are stray cats that hang out there. Our block has one cat in particular that I'm pretty sure is feral, because it has a clipped ear and starts hissing as soon as it sees a human. It likes to sun itself on our patio table. We see it in our yard most days, but we never feed it or put out bedding or toys for it or anything like that. Last week, our next-door neighbor knocked and told me that the cat had been in her yard and it bit her son. She wanted to know if it had its rabies shot. I told her that I didn't know because it was a stray. The clipped ear usually means it had a shot at some point, but I think they need boosters after a while. She got kind of upset and asked why we were letting a cat that might have rabies hang out on our property. We should have called animal control or trapped the cat and turned it into the Animal Welfare Society. I wasn't really sure how to respond at the moment, so I said something like, "Oh yeah, maybe someone should do that," and pretended someone was calling me. Yesterday, both of the kids' parents came to the door. The husband told me that their son had to get a bunch of shots to prevent rabies and it was expensive, and that they felt that my boyfriend and I needed to reimburse them for it. They said he still needs one more shot next week, and they'd bring us the final bill then. I said again that it's not our cat, but he said that we had accepted responsibility for it by letting it stay on our property. I pointed out that it's not like the cat lives exclusively in our yard. I see it in other people's yards and under their cars and stuff all the time. He said, "I'm not here to argue. You know what you need to know. We'll drop the bill off sometime next week," and left. Are we actually responsible for this stupid cat? I could maybe see their point if we're doing stuff to attract it, but like I said, we're not. Unless you count having a patio table as a cat magnet. It's true that we haven't done anything to get rid of it. But then, it seems nobody else has either. I don't see how we would have any more responsibility to control it than the rest of the neighbors. Although I'm not an expert in cat law. Do we need to pay them for the rabies shots? Are we legally required to call animal control for strays or to somehow get rid of them? Please help. Relevant comments. Matcha do about nothing. If it's a feral cat that can normally be found in random people's yards in the neighborhood at any given moment and you don't feed it or anything, I can't see how you could possibly be to blame. Just because they've seen it in your yard a couple times? LOL, no. That's what wild animals do. They go where they want. It's probably been in their yard a bunch of times too. By their logic, it must be their cat. If it was in their yard to bite their kid, tell them to pound sand. If they sue you, you need to show up and defend yourself, but I doubt they'll win. Opie responds, if they do sue though, couldn't they just snap a few pics of the cat on the table and say, "See, it's their outdoor cat that they totally own"? Is there a way to prove negative ownership of a cat? I really don't want to trap it. I think it would just get euthanized. Usual Sunny responds, so, you snap a few pics of the cat in other people's yards. Update 1, April 27th, 2018, 15 days later. So, the mom brought over a hospital bill the next week, like they said they would. I refused to take it based on the legal advice I got here. She wasn't happy about it, but she took it better than I expected, and I thought maybe that would be the end of it. Then, 2 days ago, we got a letter from a lawyer's office saying we have to pay the neighbors $2,200 and some change or they'll sue us. I googled the name of the letterhead and they're a real law firm. But they're located in a town almost an hour away from Philly, which to me seems weird because there's tons of law offices more local. Also weird is that the letter says the kid got bitten by a dog rather than a cat. We don't have a dog either. At first we thought they had hired the most inattentive lawyer of all time and it was just a mistake, but then I started thinking about how people on the first thread were saying that cat bites usually don't require rabies shots, and animal control would have to come quarantine the cat until they were sure it didn't have rabies if they were concerned about it. Now I'm starting to wonder if maybe they really are trying to run some type of scam. Luckily, my dad has a friend/regular customer who's a lawyer, and he said he would help us write a response letter. He said that based on what my dad told him, it wouldn't sound like they have much of a case, but we're going to meet him for dinner at my parents' house Sunday and explain the whole story to him then. Thank you everyone for the excellent advice. If anything else noteworthy happens, I'll provide another update. Final update, August 18th, 2018, 4 months later. I think it's over. After my father's friend helped us with the letter to the law firm, we never heard anything back. We see our neighbors outside sometimes, but they aren't speaking to us. They have been speaking to some of the older neighbors who hang around outside when the weather's warm though, so we've been getting updates through them. They say the husband is still really mad about the whole thing, but he told them earlier this week that the wife's brother, who's apparently a lawyer, I'm thinking at the firm that sent us the letter, convinced him that it's not worth pursuing in court. They also said this isn't the first time this couple has done stuff like this. Years ago, somebody who used to live on the street knocked off a side mirror on one of their cars by accident, and they sent them demand letters for all kinds of things for a full year afterwards, even though the insurance paid for a new mirror. They also sued the corner store on the next block over because the wife slipped on some ice near it one winter, but it was eventually decided that the spot where she slipped wasn't the store's responsibility to clear. So, probably not scam artists, just crazy. Thank you to everyone who gave advice in my first 2 posts. My boyfriend and I both appreciate all the help we got. Edit forgot links. Also, the cat is A-OK for anyone wondering. I would say they probably still fall into a scam artist category, even if they are kind of crazy Sue happy, because they're trying to find ways to get easy money pretty much. Now, additionally, as kind of a curiosity, I wonder how often lawyers enjoy sending just easy demand letters like these or response letters because they just enjoy fighting with other lawyers for the fun of it. Because I have seen it happen. I know it's not incredibly common, but I have in the past potentially seen a lawyer send off a few strongly worded emails that weren't billed for, which were pretty funny. The opposing legal counsel was really getting under their skin, and they just decided, fuck it, I'm gonna swing. But still, I do wonder how often lawyers will just do stuff like that because they sometimes just enjoy to fight. Like, I know that 99.9% of the time they're going to bill for their time or ask for some sort of initial retainer, but I do wonder how often sometimes it's just like, you know what? I could have some fun with this. This post was collected by Lucy Aria Rose, and their tagline is, "I'm keeping the garlic." Posted August 26, 2025 by NatedJ30 to r/anti-work. Boss is pretending I never gave notice. I gave my 2 weeks notice last Tuesday. Hand the letter directly to my manager. Had a brief conversation about transition plans, and thought that was that. Now, she's acting like it never happened. She's still assigning me projects for next month. Still scheduling me for meetings 3 weeks out. Yesterday, she asked me to order business cards with my name on them. When I reminded her I'm leaving, she just said, "We'll see about that," and walked away. I work in accounts payable for a small company. It's not like I'm some irreplaceable genius. Literally, anyone can be trained to process invoices. But she keeps saying things like, "You can't just abandon us during busy season," and "We invested so much in training you." Training me to use QuickBooks 2 years ago. Today, she scheduled me for a performance review next month. When I said I wouldn't be there, she looked genuinely confused and said, "What are you talking about? You never said anything about leaving." I have the letter. I took a photo of myself handing it to her, but she's completely in denial. I'm starting my new job Monday, whether she accepts my resignation or not. Just wondering if anyone's dealt with this level of delusion before. Do I need to send another letter? Email HR? Or just stop showing up after Friday and let her figure it out? This is so bizarre. I've never had a boss just refuse to acknowledge reality like this. Some of OP's comments. Commenter. And do not share where you will be going. Sabotage has happened to many. OP responds, definitely not telling them where I'm going. Already learned that lesson from past jobs. Commenter. You took a photo of yourself handing in your letter of resignation? OP responds, yeah, I knew she'd try to claim it never happened, so I documented it. Glad I did. Commenter. Guess they're planning for you to haunt the office forever. OP responds, probably. Let them explain to the next person why their predecessor mysteriously vanished. Commenter. Send a copy to HR and tell them when you submitted it to your boss. CC the boss's manager too. Sounds like your boss isn't following protocol and will say you don't give notice. Leave as planned. OP responds, I'll CC HR and her manager when I send the follow-up. Thanks. Commenter. And, of course, she'll deny that the conversation ever happened, so include the picture that you took as proof. Congrats on your new job, OP. OP responds, exactly why I took the photo. She'll definitely try to deny everything happened. Commenter. And a screenshot of the photo in your camera roll where the date it was taken is included. OP responds, that's smart. Screenshot with the metadata showing the date and time, covering all the bases. Update. Same post, 16 hours later. Thanks everyone for all the advice and support. You were right about documenting everything and covering my bases. I sent a follow-up email to HR and CC'd my boss and her manager with a copy of my resignation letter and the photo I took of myself handing it to her. Also included screenshots with timestamps like some of you suggested. Got a call from HR within an hour. Turns out this isn't the first time she's pulled this stunt. Apparently, she did the same thing to someone else last year. They're handling it internally, and confirmed my last day is Friday, as originally planned. My boss finally acknowledged my resignation today, though she acted like she was doing me a huge favor by accepting it. Whatever. I'm out of here in 2 days, and starting fresh somewhere that actually operates in reality. Thanks again for helping me navigate this insanity. Jesus, I can't even imagine having to work at a place where you feel like you need to confirm your resignation with screenshots and photos of you actually handing it in. That sounds messy. And I'm glad that OP is getting the hell out of there. Some additional comments, starting with Cybermage TX. I had a boss who did one of two things when you gave notice. Fired you on the spot or tossed it and said no. I didn't even bother telling her my last day was till the end of my last shift. Some people are bonkers and thinks workers are slaves. Funny Anchor 123 responds, a few years back there were a flurry of reports about companies that had a no quitting policy. And by that, I'm guessing that they wouldn't let people quit. I don't know how that was enforced. Would they go to where the employee lives and berate them to return to work? Not send the ex-employee their last paycheck? Yes, that's illegal, even in the US, but I don't know how many people know that. I haven't heard about this delusional policy since that time. I figured what ended up happening was that instead of telling their bosses that they quit, the ex-employee would simply stop showing up for work. So this no quitting policy was quietly shit-canned. Ophelia Rain Galaxy. I'm aware of one example of the owner showing up at an employee's home to berate them into returning to work. There was a post ages ago. Folks found a sign on the door of a gas station that was scrawled out and taped up with the last employee as they quit due to sheer exhaustion and stress. It was a desperate rambling list of reasons why they quit and apologies to the regular customers for ruining their morning coffee routine. And included in the list was a bit about how the poor guy had worked some insane number of hours in a row alone, trying to keep the store open when coworkers quit showing up, until eventually he just had to lock up and go home to sleep after well over 24 hours. Woke up to the owner banging on his door, going bananas about how dare he close the store when it's supposed to be open. Funny Anchor 123 comments further, oh, I already knew of one instance where a boss came to the ex-employee's house to try to get them to return to work. It happened to my dad. At some point in the late 1940s, when he was still in his 20s, my dad went to work in a lumber mill. He lived with his parents in a mill town. I don't know what exactly he did at that mill. Maybe he worked the green line. But my dad blasted one day and decided he wasn't going back the next day. The mill owner was having so much trouble filling jobs that he actually showed up at my grandparents' house and tried to get him to come back to work. That gas station story is unfortunately such just a real scenario that I know goddamn well it definitely happened. If you ever find yourself in a position where your manager is putting you in ungodly hours that don't allow you to actually function as a human, leave that place immediately. At that point in time, I don't even think I would bother putting a 2 weeks in. Putting a note on the door, if they're doing to you what this poor employee went through at the gas station, they don't deserve that 2 weeks notice. But as for the main best of post, honestly, if you feel like your company might be one of these where they might deny your 2 weeks notice, definitely confirm your 2 weeks notice by email in addition to handing it in writing. Honestly, it may not hurt to do so anyways, just because that would help keep a paper trail keeping you secure and, not in a position where you're being scheduled past your 2 weeks notice and having to relitigate that piece of paper you handed in. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Bear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code EYES at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.